Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the most amazing authors of a new book that I was going to say have coming out, but guess what? It is out, and it is called EmbodyKind, a guide for authentic living. I was joking with Blake earlier, saying that I don't often get to hold the book up during the interviews because it's never here on time. But oh my gosh, you guys, it's so beautiful. I can't wait for you all to have it in your hot little hands. Before I introduce these amazing people to you, let me just say a huge thank you to Kristi Trader, our lead author of this project. Kristi, thank you so much for your passionate mission of EmbodyKind, for the movement that you are starting in this topic area, and for the way you show up in the world, and for the amazing group of authors that you got together for this beautiful book. We would not be here without you. Thank you for everything you're doing. So let me introduce you guys to Blake Zeeler. He is a relationship engineer, author, group facilitator, and practitioner of sacred sexuality. And now you know what kind of conversation we're about to have, okay? So I also happen to have Dr. Matt Helm and Larissa Czuchnowsky here. They are relationship coaches whose mission is to help build extraordinary relationships full of love, passion, and intimacy. How did I get all of you guys on one interview? Like, how lucky am I, right? This is cool.
How are we?
All right, so Blake, let's start the party off with you. Tell us about the amazing chapter that you wrote.
Thank you, Laura. And it's really great to meet you both. I love that we're having this little summit of the relationship wizards. Yeah, and thank you, Kristi, for inviting me to be a part of this project. It's been a dream come true, truly. To tell you a bit about my chapter, I call it the Diamond Rule. That's the overlooked corollary of the Golden Rule, which is to say, speak to yourself as you would to someone you love. And it was born out of a basic but impactful realization that the way that I was speaking to myself first, and the way that I was thinking about myself, like the sentences that I was playing through my head, were sucking my power and preventing me from moving forward in life more than any of my external circumstances. And after studying neurolinguistic programming and parts work or interfamily systems, it became clear that the dynamics inside of me, the relationships that I was having with my various selves inside of me, were toxic. And they were turning into, or had turned into, the sort of relationship that I wouldn't actually choose with another human. Like, I was speaking to myself like my enemy. And getting clear that if I started speaking to myself and using words to even talk about my existence that were in line with how I would speak to a best friend or to a partner or to a child, the same sort of compassion and endearment and generosity and kindness, that if I started speaking to myself like someone I truly loved, that the whole game changed. And that was the biggest turning point in my development. So a few years on, it felt great to be able to put it into 3,000 words and make it as useful as possible.
Thanks for taking up that challenge. You know, it's hard to get it down, right? A whole lifetime's worth of wisdom. And I'm asking you all to cram it into 3,000 words. But thank you, Blake, and thank you all for taking on that challenge, for saying yes to this, but also just for really stepping up in the way that I had hoped, with your vulnerable, awesome stories, and then your master teachings. Like, you guys, this book is such a gift. And it's going to be an amazing practical toolkit for people to really have experiences with your practices and tools and strategies. But Blake, back to just the way that you had that, I call them ninja level moves of awareness. Like, when you have the awareness to look at your own self-talk like that, literally everything changes. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that impact?
The impact of looking and hearing.
Yes, and changing it. So when you first started to change the self-talk, was it I'm laughing. Was it easy?
No, no, it
Yeah.
wasn't. And I talk about this a little bit in the chapter. At first, it's really, really awkward. If you like trying to look in the mirror and say something really endearing to yourself, like, I love you, Blake, you're a great person. The first time you really try to do that, your whole body's like, oh, I don't believe it. I can't, I don't want to, because it's that first attempt, you're running counter to decades of old script that says you suck, you're never going to make it, you're worthless. And so you have to kind of push back for a little while. You have to be consistent. It's like going to the gym and doing enough reps that you actually can see results. But it doesn't take that long, honestly. If you overcome that initial awkwardness and kind of fake it till you make it, by the 5th or 10th or even 50th try, you're going to say something really sincere, and it's going to penetrate your own heart in a way that you didn't expect. And the next thing you know, you will have moved yourself to tears by saying the most simple of things that you want to hear from anyone who loves you.
I love that. I've experienced these things, and I'm going to back Blake up, and it's worth the effort and the awkwardness in the beginning.
Thank you.
Blake, thank you so much for being here. Stay tuned, you guys. We're going to hear more from Blake in just a moment.
Lovely. Thanks, Laura.
Matt and Larissa, tell everyone about this amazing chapter that you co-wrote.
Yes, I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I love what Blake's talking about, because it's about the awakened couple is about waking up to the truth of who you are and what it takes to go deep into who you are as a person and examine your thoughts, your beliefs, the conditioning that you've been through, the trauma that you've been through, and how kind, this notion of embodying kindness, embodying kind, how beautiful and loving and kind that is to do for you. And what that does for the planet, for your partner, when you see each other as the sacred medicine to wake you up to the truth of who you are. So the awakened couple was about, how do you do this together? How do you wake up and fall in love with your life, which I believe is like a prerequisite to deeply loving another person. You got to go in deep to yourself, and you got to go in and examine who you are and how you became who you are before you can ever give yourself fully to another person. And so what we learned was that we weren't really awake in our first marriages and our first relationships. It's a lot of conditioning. It's a lot of healing work. So we talk about the fact is you've got to wake up yourself. You got to wake up. You've got to heal up. You've got to grow up and mature up so that you can show up to yourself first. And then how extraordinary is it when you can show up unapologetically in your courageous truth to another person and not back away from the heat of a relationship. We think about it as like alchemical friction. She touches those parts of me that need examination. She touches those hidden parts that may lead me to hide and not show up completely and intimately in my truth with her. So she's part of the sacred and evolutionary journey to completely waking up and offering myself to the world. And
usually what happens, all couples have this available to them. And usually what happens is we fall back into our patterns. So as Blake's saying, this like voice, right? We fall back into our conditioning. We fall back into the same ploys, the same manipulations, the same trying to get our needs met, the same stuck stories and narratives. And so in our chapter, we talked about a method of dealing with that point of conflict, dealing with that point where both people are triggered, which is actually, in our opinion, food for the relationship. That actually, when we reframe the discord, the discomfort together, it's actually the biggest opportunity that we offer that you can only get in intimate relationship to really peel back and heal our conditioning, our storylines, those inner voices. And so we said that in that point of conflict, the first thing is to stop. So you're talking about the amazing ninja skills. Stop mindfully. Oh my gosh, here we are. Stop, stay, struggle and surrender. That's step 2. be with it. It takes so much ninja strength to be there. And then to state, so that awareness, like I'm really triggered right now. Like
I'm caught in a narrative. I'm caught in some part of myself that wants to run, defend, false part.
I can't talk, whatever it is. And then finally that mindful selection. Okay, how do I want to show up? What am I going to say here? And usually that point for me, every time there's a lot of fear, like I'm going to really bring my truth here. Like, is he not going to abandon me? Is he not going to leave? So just using that point of conflict as this sacred tool for waking up, for really learning. And then after you walk through that together, you recoup so much energy, and there's like aliveness and passion between you. So that was what our chapter was about.
And it's sexy.
Yes.
Like it's actually sexy to go there.
I have a feeling that all three of you today are going to start to help people redefine what happens in a difficult relationship, because what I am hearing, like in neon sign language, is something that you said a second ago, that the conflict can be food for the relationship. Like if you can pause and wake up in the moment that you're in the trigger, good luck with that, but I know you guys are here to help us. Then you have an opportunity you just have such huge opportunity. I see Blake waving at me. What else do you want to add there?
I love that piece of your share so much. It sounds like we would have had fun writing each other's chapters. But I'm reminded of this great phrase that I got from another ninja, that triggers are treasures.
Yes.
That they are the portals to find the gold.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, everybody listening today, take a moment. Let that line breathe for you for just a moment. Like, if you're having these kinds of relationships and there are arguments and there are triggers, and man, you're good at pushing that person's buttons. Of course you are. And they will do it to you too. But what if those moments of pretty extreme discomfort sometimes could be like the biggest gift you were being given right that moment, right? I just want everyone to chew on that for a minute. Yeah, this topic is like incredible. Okay, so Larissa, is there anything else you want to say about how you get to the point where you can actually pause? Because in my experiences, and I'm divorced, and so there you go. So, right, like that was the biggest challenge for me. So triggered, so right, that sometimes I had to like walk away and just be like, no, can't do this, right? But how do you get people backed up enough in their awareness to be able to pause in the first place?
Well, I think we are not taught about relationship, right? Everything we know is through osmosis, through our parents, through our caregivers, and we're never truly instructed. Just like, sure, you could learn different skills just by watching, but there's something about really practicing and really understanding and knowing. So, certainly having your own spiritual practice, having a coach, lots of resources, but really it's an inside job. So, and the first thing is to really reframe. That's so Matt and I really look at, okay, here it is. Here's this trigger, this thing that's happening. And I have a choice to show up, to not show up. And we don't do it clean. It's messy. Sometimes you're aware, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, like half hour later, it's just celebrating. So there's a lot of tenderness. So as Blake's talking with this self-talk, there's just a lot of tenderness for our humanity. There's a lot of letting go, of this idea that relationships only bring pleasure, that there's something wrong if there's discomfort. So when you're reframing, like, wow, here's this moment, I'm learning from this. Thank you, my partner. Like, let's go deep, let's learn. So if you are looking, as I like what Blake said, that triggers as treasures. And so you're reframing, that really reshapes what happens. And when you normalize all the feelings, like I'm going to get angry, I'm going to get frustrated, I'm going to feel, unseen, and just that's how it's going to be in relationship, and good, because I want that stuff to come up so I can recoup that energy.
And most of the time, the problem you think you're having in your relationship is not your partner. foundational is that the problem is actually in me. So if you're talking about reframing, the problem is I've got some kind of belief, some kind of idea, some kind of defense that I picked up along the way. And it's why we met, by the way. We were attracted to each other because we were going to draw sacred medicine out to wake up to the truth. The truth is, I had certain needs that weren't met growing up. The truth is, when I really examine this, I attracted in a person that was going to touch that was going to wake me up. And most couples, they really truly believe that the problem is the other person. And
Yeah, of course.
And not in their view, and not in their belief system, and not deeply conditioned into their nervous system. The subconscious mind never forgets. It's going 24/7, remembering every single time you were hurt, every single time someone shamed you. All the trauma is right there.
Yeah, good old, it was Dr. Phil, you guys. You want to be happy or you want to be right?
It just wrote from communication mess to magic. And the first step is, do you want to be right?
Yeah.
You want to be right? You want to be happy, right?
I chose happy somewhere along the line. Blake, I think you wanted to add something to that from before. What was it?
Oh, I just talk with my hands a lot. I'm
Okay.
I'm over here celebrating so much of what they're saying, and in particular this, like the yoga of what we're talking about here, like being willing to sit in the discomfort long enough for and hold it with love, whether it's, you know, pain or grief or frustration or anger or loneliness, like to sit in that discomfort long enough that something new can emerge, that we can, as Matt's describing, like go in and discover that part of ourselves that really needs attention rather than focus on the outside stimulus.
Yeah, I love how you just said the yoga of it. You know, can we even sit there long enough? It's a practice, lifelong. Okay, let's move into the idea of EmbodyKind just a little bit now. Matt, I'm going to start this one off with you. What does EmbodyKind mean to you?
You know, I've had a lot of time to think about that, because as we were writing the chapter, and I was thinking about how does the awakened couple embody it and move with it in the world? And so what embodying kindness means that I drop into the body. And as I've examined my own thoughts, my own beliefs, and start to move with truth, move with kindness, it's the actual movement of it. So it's stopping and it's putting my attention on another person. In this case, it can be you who just asked me the question. So my attention is on you. And when Blake was talking and when Larissa was answering the question, my time, my focus, my attention was on listening to her. I don't think we do enough of that in the world. And so the way that I move with embodying it as a partner and as a person is I get my hands on the steering wheel of my heart and I allow it to guide me, which is connected to my ears, and listening deeply, suspending my belief system, suspending my judgment so that I can truly hear what another person is saying. I don't think there's anything more loving or kind that you can do. And if it's a child, one of our children, and they're right in front of us, am I doing that? Showing up. So it doesn't really matter who it is, that, like we were talking about ceremony, like life is a ceremony. Every single moment is a ceremony where you can be present in the moment, because all we really have is right now. To me, that's what embodied kindness is. And to me, the awakened couple understands that, and they hold each other to that standard and accountable, so that when she's in front of me, I have my attention on her. And it doesn't really matter, because it could be a child. In this case, it's this podcast with you. So it's one thing to have a knowledge base of what kindness is and to intellectually understand it. It is another thing to move with it in the world and to open your heart and let your heart be expressed in the world.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt. Larissa, what do you want to add? What does it mean to you?
So I like this ninja metaphor, right? So there is a choice every moment, and we can justify, or we can be asleep to, you know, how things are going. And we can actively choose. That's part of the mastery of living. That's part of the yoga, the practice of being alive and being present, is I'm saying yes to life. I'm saying yes to each moment. I'm saying yes to watching myself mess up. I'm saying yes to watching myself, get in my pattern or say things wrong. I'm saying yes to very tenderly the whole gamut of life without this expectation that it has to be this way or that way. So there's this softening, there's this opening, there's this acceptance and surrender of our humanity and an understanding of the ways that we might get caught up in this real love, this real tenderness of the way we show up and navigate, so that the embodied kind is really embodying your full humanity without this idea of what it is, without this separation that these emotions are bad or this way of being, this is too sticky or too messy, this idea of transcendence. So embodying kind, as Matt was saying, is like really going down deep, just really, really fully being present in one's body and understanding that we are making choices and that we can be awake to what we choose in each moment.
Thank you for that. All right, Blake, what do you want to add on top of all of that? What does this mean to you?
Gosh, I'm so moved by the words that you both just chose. I would have chosen a lot of similar ones myself. What feels perhaps different to add is I was thinking about the idea of nonviolent communication, which is a powerful modality for communication, but it's couched in a negative, nonviolent, right? What if it was just kind communication? And I suppose that just occurred to me as I was listening to these two speak brilliantly about their take on embodying kindness, that if we are moving through the world with an open heart that's willing to feel and willing to love whatever is in front of it, even if it's the messiest messy mess, then we will naturally treat everything as, at worst, just another phenomenon, and at best, another expression of the self or of spirit that is deserving of love and attention and all the same things that you want. And so embodying kindness is essentially facing the world with an assumption that life is friendly, that the other people that you come in contact with are there for your growth and benefit, even if they're being mean to you or they cut you off in traffic. Like there's something there that's a gift for you. And it's from that place of yes, of openness, of acceptance, of being willing to love life no matter what it brings you, that I think is embodying kindness. It's just bringing a degree of okay, whatever happens, I'm going to just be nice to it. And I'm going to be nice to myself. I'm going to be kind to myself, even if the circumstances bring up a lot of pain for me. I'm not going to judge myself or put myself down. It's like all the places where we might resort to speaking negatively or harshly to ourselves or acting harshly towards others is an opportunity to embody kindness, to take a deep breath into your heart, into a soft round belly, and just be like, how do I really want to meet this moment?
Yeah.
I'm like over here scribbling things madly onto my notebook. I love you guys. I love playing in the sandbox with people who are walking a walk of awareness. This is like my favorite topic ever. You all are dropping such huge nuggets, and awareness to me is everything. It's what gives you the opportunities, right? Feeling is healing. Feeling is the awareness practice, noticing your thoughts, feeling the sensations, everything about this. So helping people to feel is a part of this for me. I get that it is probably for you all too. So Larissa, I want to start with this next question with you. What does your practice of connection or awareness look like in your day-to-day? Give me one example of how you connect.
Mm-hmm. Well, my morning practice is definitely a good charge, but I think I wanted to say that it is possible. I feel like as a species, I really feel like we're moving towards embodying kind, embodying love more and more, really deeply being embodied and in our hearts. So kind of moving, the longest journey is from the mind into the heart, and I'd say even down further in the body. So really using everything in my life. Life is a ceremony. I'm saying yes to being awake and all as much as I can. But meditation and connecting with the elements, the energies, the living energies all around are my most grounding place.
Mhm.
I love it. There's so many, right? Like I know each of us could probably talk about 100 different ways. Blake, I'm going to move over to you now with this one. What's it look like in your day to day? Give us an example of how you connect.
You know, I think the briefest and most like on point answer I have for that is I practice all 5 love languages and even a few others that I've made up for myself. So every day I take a chance to just really like touch my body slowly, both non-erotically and erotically. Every day I take a chance to like really look myself in the eyes in the mirror and say something sincere and meaningful. And each day, like carve out a little bit of quality time for myself to be with the land, or just like stand in the breeze, or exercise, or do something other than be productive. Turn my energy inward rather than outward. Sometimes it just looks like coming to rest for 15 minutes. Acts of service, doing things that will better my future or my environment, even things like cleaning up my room. It's like when it's really tidy and I've taken meticulous care of it, I feel like I'm doing a kindness to my outer and inner world at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
And gifting, like this beautiful necklace, for example, was a gift to myself.
The best kind, the gifts to yourself. You're making me think of feng shui right now, though, and the power of decluttering and cleaning and clearing both the internal spaces and the external spaces. And you and the spaces around you become a channel as a result of cleaning and clearing and decluttering. But you said, when I pay attention to that, like respect that, there's such power in that. Feng shui is one of those topics like we could talk for the next 3 hours about too. Any one of these. Yeah. Anything else you want to say about that, Blake?
Oh, just that. I mean, the 5 quote love languages are the ones that got published in that other great book that did so well. But, we each have ones that are kind of specific to us. For me, like getting deep reflection from another human being, who can really see me, less just words of affirmation, but even more like feedback, even of a critical nature. People who can really see through me is a way of being penetrated by love that I thoroughly enjoy. That's a love language for me. So the invitation is to figure out like what really makes you feel energized, resourced, whole, kind to yourself, and not just whole, but full enough in your love cup or your abundance, your feeling of generosity is whatever you got to do to get that feeling of generosity online so that you can walk through the world with that ease of giving or ease of offering kindness to other people, because you're not at a deficit. You don't need to receive because you've been resourcing yourself with all these different love languages. So yeah, the trick is to find which one works for you.
Yes, let's go out and fill our love cups for sure.
Exactly.
Matt, oh, sorry, go ahead. I wanted for you to share one of your practices as well.
Yeah, they're all the practices are designed with this idea of feng shui, the idea of climate change from the inside out, and that the external world, whether it's our relationships or the planet or the environment or any system we've designed, they're products of our internal climate. The internal collective consciousness and climate of humanity is why we have the problems we have in the world. And so it's really important. So all of my practices, from the time I wake up in the morning and when the alarm goes off, and get my butt in the chair or on a yoga mat or in some kind of contemplative practice, it's essential for me to come back to the truth of who I am. And so it's extraordinary, so if I could inspire one person to make time to go be with themselves, to declutter that internal environment, to get to the truth of who you are. So for me, it's years of meditation. logged over 1,000 hours of meditation. Larissa and I give each other 1-day retreats where we have a cabin and we go and turn the phones off and we sit with ourselves for the entire day. And I have had epiphanies, and I have gotten to touch the truth of who I am, or the oneness of life. That's what happens to me when I'm in a day-long retreat in nature, is I can actually melt right into nature. And I can't tell you the number of things, 10 years of psychoanalysis, right? I've been through a divorce. My divorce, when I write about it, dropped me to the knees. It broke me, completely broke me. And there was a real opportunity to discover who I was beyond. So my morning practice, today started with sitting in the chair right next to me with a book and with prayer. So it's not only meditation, but prayer and touching the fabric of the universe. So I have a relationship with the cosmos, with all of life, which includes many, many relationships. And so that's what I encourage, like in terms of the awakened couple, it's really about waking up and being able to experience the extraordinary nature of being alive, life being the greatest teacher. So I'm with life every morning, whether it's in the chair or on the yoga, the meditation cushion. So that's what I wanted to say. This notion of feng shui, I always say it wrong. Feng shui.
Feng shui sounds good to me.
That's my TED talk. It's climate change from the inside out. If we want to change this world and have it be healthy and well, we've got to go inside.
And I want to add something to that. All these things that we're talking about, and such a beautiful space of love that we're in together, and what we're sharing together, is that ultimately, as we have the courage to step into these uncomfortable places, as we have the self-love to show up for ourselves where we want to bolt out of there and run away, the more that we create that muscle to stay a little longer and to be there a little longer and to notice and to hold our hand, it's okay. It's okay. I do this a lot. It's okay. You've got this. And to stay with that fear, that our nervous system just wanting to go somewhere else. And we start to remove obstacles to the energy of love that is what being alive is about, that is source. And so as we start to clean our rooms, our inner sanctuaries more and more, what happens is that there's more and more of this energy available. So it's almost counterintuitive that by going into the darkness, those scary places, stopping, surrendering, struggling, being there, that there is just so much more available to us.
All right, you guys. So I want to keep you for the rest of the day. Is that okay? Okay, no. I want to wrap up today, and I want to, you are all master teachers. And so sometimes I think when we are lucky enough to live that life and trailblaze that way, sometimes we forget about the beginner. And so now this last question that I want to ask all of you is, man, it's been a lot the last couple of years, and people had a lot before that started. And so the level of anxiety and stuff and layers is just a lot. I know you guys get that. So Matt and Larissa, what would be one simple stepping stone thing that you'd like people to know about the beginning pieces of that journey? What's one simple thing you want to share with the listeners?
In terms of the awakened couple, it really begins with you. And so in a coupleship, in a partnership, I would ask our listeners to really come back to themselves. a beginning step is taking a chance and just taking a breath and remembering who you are. And we forget that. Our whole conditioning process is to care and to put our attention on the external world and away from who we are. And part of the solution, I think, for this awakened couple, for a new planet, because I really believe that you wake up to this little beginning piece, come back to yourself. Come back to yourself. And anytime there's discomfort or there's pain or unhappiness, it's an indication to return to yourself and not to externalize it and not to put it onto another person. And so that's one of the agreements that Larissa and I are very clear about, that if I'm discontent and I'm upset and I'm struggling, I need to come back to myself. And that we've agreed with each other that we've agreed to be right and wrong and make mistakes with each other, and that we're safe. And part of what I need to do is be a safe container for myself. And I haven't been. And I would imagine the listeners have not been safe to themselves in terms of criticizing, in terms of shaming, in terms of self-loathing. And so that's mine that I'm away from, some years. It's coming right back to me and the importance of the relationship I have with myself. So
What do you want to add, Larissa?
I think this idea of embodiment, so continuing kind of along Matt's line, but so much of our life we're living here, and our culture encourages that. So I guess advice to listener would be to really go down deep in the body, start inhabiting the body deeply, step outside, really feel your feet on the earth, really make your attention go deeper down. So that would be my advice.
I love it. Thank you both. All right, Blake, you're going to wrap us up today. What's that one thing you want people to know today?
I think it hinges off the subtitle for my chapter. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you truly love. And that can become a litmus test for noticing, am I speaking to myself like someone who I truly love? And I love what Matt pointed out earlier, that our ears are connected to our hearts. So the one direction I have for our listeners today is use your words. Don't just try to think your way through your stuff. Use your words, because you're starting to draw it down into your body as soon as it hits your throat chakra. And as you speak it, it lands in your ears and it hits your heart chakra. And from there, we start to hear the impact of the words that we are speaking. It's like, so if I say something derogatory about myself in response to making a mistake, how does it feel in my heart when I say that awful thing? And then how does it feel if I say something kind? And having people, I really want our listeners and our readers to get a reference point for just the simple affirmative or disempowering switch that occurs when our language switches from harsh to kind. That you must speak. It's crucial. Most people want to keep all of this negative stuff inside. They don't want to let their emotions come out. They don't want to let their vulnerability be heard. So they just keep perseverating and ruminating up here. But use your voice and use the mirror. Try this out. Try out the kindest words you can find and listen for the resonance in your body. Listen to what it does to your heart.
So powerful. It's one of the reasons why I ask all of my authors to read their words out loud to themselves. I know it sounds corny as an editing tool, but that's why I do it. How Blake described it, that's the why behind it, because you will feel it when you hear it. And I can't count the number of times people have come back to me and said, wow, just reading it made me cry. Just reading my own words. Yeah, it's so powerful. I love that so much. You all are so amazing badasses. That's who I get to play with every day, you guys. To all of you today, thank you so much for what you do in the world, you guys, and for being here today to share it. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Blake.
You too, Laura.
Yeah.
Larissa, Matt, well done, you two. I can't wait
you
to soak up your chapter and incorporate it into my own life.
All right, for everybody watching today, remember you get to join us for a live stream book launch party Friday, September 30th. That's coming up in a few days here. 10 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. We're going to get with all of the authors of EmbodyKind, and they're going to be dropping their wisdom for you. And I know without a doubt that something that Matt and Larissa or Blake said today, it's given you the goosebumps. You're maybe just curious. Maybe you want to continue the conversation. So drop on down into the show notes because I have them hooked up there with their websites. Take the exploration, have a click, see the awesomeness that they are up to in the world because it's a lot. And then if you're listening after that date of the 30th, well, that means you got to hop over to Amazon. Actually, you can hop over to Amazon today. I keep forgetting because it's here, you guys. You can go get your copy of EmbodyKind and start the journey today. Lastly, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Bye, guys.